In this chapter, I want to talk about taking the next step with broadcasting video by using a third-party app, the most common of which is the Open Broadcasting software. It's freely available online. In fact, we actually link to it in the broadcasting page and in the EventStream page. You can download the OBS from our site, and then you can use the credentials that are available to hook that all up. And I'll show you a little bit here. But first, what I want to talk about is why would you even get into something like this? Well, that's because with Open Broadcasting software, you can bring in multiple inputs, such as a video from a website or from a file on your computer. You can make that available as a source, and you can play it whenever you want. You can then add a camera that's focused on the speaker of the event. And then that can be brought into OBS, and then you can switch to that as you want. And then you have an auctioneer, and that can be then switched into Open Broadcasting software to be shown at any time that you want. And then you also have what I think is a great opportunity to run ads. So maybe you have a 2-minute lull where MC of the event is off camera and we're switching out to do the auctioneer, the live auction and the fund a need, and I want to switch to some ads from our sponsors and I want to show those. I can switch to that so people have something to look at while they're bidding in the auction. For instance, the MC would say, folks, we're going to cut to a 2-minute break while we set up the live auctioneer and get that ready. While we're doing that, watch these great ads from our sponsors and keep bidding in the silent auction. We'll be 2 minutes and right back. And then you can switch to those ads, and then you can bring back the auctioneer. And then what this does is Open Broadcast software allows you to take all of those sources, choose which one you want to show at what time, and it's constantly being fed to people's devices. So all of those sources go into Open Broadcast, and then you, as the director of the show, are choosing which one goes to the people that are watching the video. Think of it like, watching a sporting event on TV, or, the Oscars on TV. When you have all these different cameras located around the venue, the director is going to choose which one to go to at which time so that the people who are watching the show get the best experience possible. That's what Open Broadcast software does. I'm going to jump over to my version of Open Broadcast software, and I'm going to show you here how I have it set up. What I do recommend is that you work with somebody in your area that knows how to use Open Broadcast software. People who get on YouTube and do streaming or gaming, these are people that use OBS regularly. Now, if I have my OBS set up, I'm going to create what are called scenes. I call them sources of, I have a video, I have a web page, and I have my stream all in different scenes, and I can switch to them. So for instance, if I click on the first scene, I have my web camera, which in my example is, I have a kind of a title slide that I'm using instead of a web camera, but this would be my web camera, or it would be one of the cameras that's coming into my computer. So maybe I have a camera that's pointed at the host and eventually the auctioneer. I have that set up and I can switch to it anytime I want. And what I do is I create what are called sources, and I can layer them all on top of each other. Let's say I want to layer the host, and then I want to have a screen over here like a web page. I can do that as well. Now, again, I won't get into all the specifics. There are thousands of YouTube videos out there that show you how to use this software. It is incredibly powerful, but not something that we're able to support. We would ask that you find somebody locally to make that happen so that you have a good, consistent, reliable person. And then under OBS preferences, you pop open these settings, and then stream is where you would put your millicast and your stream name, and then the publishing token that we give you so that you can publish to it. So that's my video camera. So I've got that set up, and I'm going to create a new scene, and I'm going to put a web browser in there. So I click the plus sign and I choose browser. And then it asks me for the web address. I type it in, and bingo, now it's sitting there. So maybe that's a YouTube page, or it's a loop that's just showing sponsors, or it's an Instagram feed that's getting updated in real time, or the leaderboard, or whatever I want, I can put on there, and that's one of my options. And then scene 3 is going to be my page that I go to in case I run into trouble. Like, oh no, now what do I do? The person walked off when they weren't supposed to. I need to cut to something so that people who are watching at home, remember, they're seeing all this on their phones. I want to jump to something. So let's say I have thank you for your participation. What I did was I just added a text. And maybe I don't want it to say thank you for your participation. I want to go to properties and I want it to say, we'll be right back. And then I can put that over here and set it in the middle. Now again, there's a lot you can do here. I can also put up a background, I can put a video, I can import, maybe I've got a video that I downloaded to my computer, or I want to go to Vimeo, or there's a lot of different options here. If you press the plus sign, you can create a lot of different things, and based on the type of computer you're using or what you have plugged into it, you can bring in different sources. And this is exactly how big TV studios do it. They just have a lot more equipment. But one thing that they do really well is they allocate manpower in the right place. And what I mean by that is they don't try to have one person do everything. They put people in positions. And so when you were planning your live auction, you had spotters, you had an auctioneer, you had checkout attendants, cashiers. In the same way, you're going to want somebody who just sits in front of this computer and puts these screens together, and they can add more scenes, you can add more sources, and then you've got somebody who is switching the show. Whatever I'm doing on this screen is being sent to my bidders' phones. So I can say, okay, right now we're watching the auctioneer, and I want to jump to a leaderboard that I've got loaded on my ClickBid site. Okay, perfect. Now I want to cut back to the auctioneer, and now I want to cut to a we'll be right back screen. Whatever I have set up, and I'm loading this on people's phones so they see this as well. So, those are some of the options that we have. And again, I can pop back and forth, and as long as my credentials are set up in my software, I'm able to do this, and it's really, really effective. So let's take a look at an example that I have set up. You can see here in the main part of the screen is me simulating my phone at an event. Now this could be one of hundreds of people. And on the right side of the screen, you can see me clicking on my different scenes that I created. And I'm making some space here so you can really see what I'm doing. That is the OBS software that I have set up on my computer at the event. So I am switching in real time between my web camera, my web page, and my we'll be right back slide. As I pick the scenes, that is getting fed to the bidders' phones. So we're mixing in real time and seeing how that goes together.